Saw a woman dead in an intersection the other day. Police wielding truncheons redirected the traffic around her. And we were going fast. She was there 1 second, gone the next, but I kicked down from third to second to pay my respects. I've got 5 teaching placements. I'm on my bike a couple of hours a day. The roads here are a game of mangled metal. Buses and SUVs are great white sharks in the slipstream, while the rest of us rise and fall atop the crests of waves manufactured by Honda. I love it. It's how I wanted to drive when I was 15 years old and was told I was not allowed. At slow speed, people drag their feet as stabilizers, and I wonder how many ill-fated flip-flops have disintegrated into the ether of Hanoi. I suppose you could say the city's got soul. But there's a fear present when I start my bike, and it's not becoming a smear across the road, because if I fall, I'll roll, I'll break my bones, hey-ho. But if petrol and concrete kill me, I'll never see Emma again. A year ago, I'd never been in a serious relationship. When playing Never Ever Have I Ever, my go-to line was, never have I ever been tied down by anyone. And this was an attempt to be a big international player, you know, woman in every port. But on the inside I was crying, because I'd been trying for a long time, but it had always been the same. Stayed sane when it would have been good to try crazy. Ladies, this tongue works in more ways than one, but up until a year ago it could not twist itself around the syllables of the language of love. Which is a language learned in the same way as any other. You practice and you get better. If someone said to me in Vietnamese, don't do that, it's a bad idea, I'd be completely clueless as to what was being communicated. And so a year ago in Edinburgh, when people said, you're an exchange student, you're here for 9 months, don't start your first long-term relationship, it was a foreign dialect, and I was mystified as to what they were saying. And words were lost in translation, lost like seconds of life passing, every palpitation, heartbeat, but our feet beat the streets as we walk the cobbles hand in hand, and it's impossible to understand pragmatism or long-term repercussions when you fall face first in love with someone. The batteries were stolen from every clock in the world, and the hands of time ceased to move, because for 9 months we were caught in a moment. But our hands moved, fingertips to trace the forearm like foreplay before the full-flung intercourse of interlocking hands. Hands have this amazing ability to give and take away. You're digging your own grave, is what they would say, but I didn't understand. And a man said, you think you feel this way, but you're 19 years old, how do you know? And I don't know how I know, but I know I loved her like a drowning man loves driftwood. And if 1,000,000 men said you can't, I'd say I could. And we loved like tectonic plates on fire and in the dark. And if every move we made ruptured fault lines and dropped the mountains into the lakes, I would make those same moves again, unfazed. The lights blew out in my apartment one night, and we sat at 2 a.m. on the sofa listening to a song called Parallel Universe. I remember her profile illuminated by the light of her cell phone. She was a gently undulating line, spectral, almost conceptual, in the darkness, but still warm to the touch, and I would take all the mountains and sunrises and pleasant surprises and money and champagne and power and cocaine in the world and throw it away, because nothing compared to this girl, and words are lost in translation, lost like emotional luggage left on the platform of Waverley Station, because the expression, it's always difficult to have a relationship as an exchange student, doesn't exactly paint the full picture of the countdown of hours before the airport departure lounge. And we were well rehearsed in our lines. It was going to be a clean break, that we'd remember for the best of times, and that life had different paths for us. Life has different paths for us. Nothing in that communicates the fact that months later I'm going to sleep to her memory and waking up to her absence. And they say if a sentence is memorised, it becomes contrived, but when something plays on the heart enough times, it's etched into the mind, and then in your head as the track repeats, it's synthesised into words to be projected into a room, to be heard, to be accepted or rejected, absorbed or deflected. But I never expected to be standing on a stage shouting metaphors into the air, 2 parts love and 1 part rage, but this is the shit that keeps me awake, and I'm just trying to shape it into a verse, because I've got a good memory, and now she's not with me. It's a curse. And I teach English, but if anyone's got an opinion on the past and present tense, I'd like to hear it. Would it be Ben loved Emma or Ben loves Emma? Because on this, I'm really not sure. On this, I'm the dumb fuck kid sitting at the back of class trying to get a chance of a glance at someone else's answers. And these words tumble now, lost in translation. Lost like the perfect tense, now I'll apply a past tense conjugation. Oceans and empires have forced our separation, seizing subcontinents, subdivided love, so fuck the world, and I mean it, it's the only thing that stands between us. So if I come off my bike, If a brake breaks, or an indicator fakes, or a tyre bursts, or a truck swerves, and I fall apart, a paramedic will find in my pocket one of those cards that says this guy's willing to give up some of his parts. But I'll be less use than imagined in terms of transplants, 'cause somewhere in Scotland, she's stolen my heart.